Hello, my name is Tina Jordan, and I am the Vice President of Membership for FCA International. It is my pleasure to welcome you today to FCA's Women in Cyber Leadership Panel. This is a third in our 2020 virtual series that has extended into 2021. We have previously hosted Women in Cyber Leadership panels at TechNet Cyber in December 2020 and during TechNet Indo-Pacific in March of this year. Those were excellent panels and can be viewed on the Women in FCA website at women.fca.org. Today's panel is brought to you by Women in FCA, and it is sure to be a fabulous event. The sponsors for today's event are Sienna Corporation and Walker and Associates. Sienna and Walker and Associates sponsor all of our Women in FCA panels, and we could not bring these informative sessions to you without their support. So many thanks to Sienna and Walker and Associates. As part of FCA's support of continuing education, this session has been approved to earn 1 GIAC CPE. This panel session is pre-recorded and the discussion will last 1 hour. You may ask questions in the chat window during the session. Our participants have been invited to attend today's broadcast and they will respond to your questions in the chat section. And now it is my pleasure to introduce our moderator, Colonel Molly Pearson, United States Army retired. Colonel Pearson is a senior information technology business leader with more than 26 years of experience, and she currently leads Pearson Consulting, LLC, sharing with her clients her experience in Army acquisition, contracting strategy, business development, capture operations, management, and global mergers. In 2015, Colonel Pearson retired from her active duty Army career, where she worked for the Army's Program Executive Office Enterprise Information Systems, leading joint information environment initiatives for DoD military combatant commanders in Kuwait, Afghanistan, Europe, and the Pacific. Colonel Pearson graduated from Army ROTC as a distinguished military graduate from the Pennsylvania State University with a Bachelor of Arts in Psychology. She also has a Master of Arts degree in Human Resources Management from George Washington University and a Master's of Science in Information Management from Webster University. So Colonel Pearson, welcome and over to you.
Thank you, Tina. I appreciate that warm welcome. And I would like to welcome everyone to TechNet 21's Woman in Cyber Leadership Panel. As stated, my name is Molly Pearson, and I will be the facilitator for today's discussion. And as stated, I retired out of the Army, out of PEO EIS, and it's definitely humbling to lead today's discussion consisting of such impressive women leaders in cyber and support FCA International, an organization that does so much for our communities and profession. We all know that cyber, which means many things, and cybersecurity has become a top concern to many agencies, including the government, as well as American companies, as the United States faces a more diverse, complex, quickly evolving, and demanding security environment than ever before. This is in part because of the mounting evidence that the constant threat of a cyber attack is real, lasting, and cannot be ignored. Today's panel of senior women leaders will discuss the challenges surrounding the workforce, the challenges of building and maintaining a robust cybersecurity workforce to appropriately meet the demands of today's challenging environment. I'd like to thank all of our panelists for participating today and sharing their views as cyber leaders. There's no better way to address today's challenges than by assembling the right people in the same room to discuss and share information, points of view, and best practices. This panel consists, as you will see, of a very impressive group of professionals who bring a great deal of expertise and a range of relevant perspectives. I'd like to start by welcoming each of the participants, as well as the members that are in the audience joining us today. I will now introduce each panel member and provide a brief summary of their background. I encourage you to review their bios in detail on the portal. First, I'd like to introduce Dr. Lethea S. Jackson, who is professor and founding chair of the Department of Technology and Security at Bowie State University. She has multiple degrees as reflected in her resume, including her doctorate degree in academic leadership from the Chicago School of Psychology. She served as a member of preparing critical faculty for the future of next generation of STEM learning, received recognition as one of 1,000 inspiring Black scientists in America, and has published numerous technical articles. She, on top of all that, is a wife and mother of 5 children. Welcome, Dr. Jackson. And I now would like to introduce Miss Venus Goodwine. Ms. Goodwine serves as the Chief Information Security Officer for the United States Department of Agriculture. She has over 28 years of information technology experience spanning private industry, active and reserve military service, as well as the federal civilian government. She was named a 2020 Washington Executive Top 25 Security Executive to Watch and won both the 2020 Washington Executive Pinnacle Award for Cybersecurity Government Executive of the Year and the 2020 G2 Exchange Women in Leadership Awards. She also was nominated for the 2020 FedScoop 50 Cybersecurity Leader of the Year Award. She has served as a cyber advisor to the Marine Corps Systems Command Leadership, responsible for delivering capabilities to the United States Marine Corps warfighter. And she also has earned a Master of Business Administration from William Carey University and a Bachelor of Science in Computer and Information Science from the University of Maryland. She has multiple certifications, including the Information Systems Security Professional, her Project Management Professional, PMP from Project Management Institute, and she's also DOEA Level 3 certified in IT. Welcome, Ms. Goodwine. Next, I would like to introduce Miss Angie Leinart, who is president and founder of Intelligenesis. Angie founded Intelligenesis in 2007 and has since grown the company to more than 140 employees specializing in data science and decision-making analytics, national security cyber training, offensive and defensive cyber operations, intelligent analysis, and intelligence solution engineering. Angie started the kind of company that she wanted to work for, and she continues to ensure that it has a supportive atmosphere for every employee, one where employees work hard and enjoy coming to work, but also where their personal lives are valued. She began her career as an Arabic linguist in the United States Air Force, and she also invested in her own education, achieving her AAS, her Bachelor of Science, and also her MBA degrees while she was gaining her PMP certification. Today, she uses her influence to not only lead a successful and growing small business, but to improve and promote opportunities for other veterans and women in business. She served as founder and board liaison for the Women in Technology Group, been on the board of directors for both the DoD Women-Owned Small Business Consortium and the Chesapeake Regional Tech Council, and she currently serves on the Early College Program Advisory Board. She also hosts and promotes various events and mentorships for girls and women in the technology industry and has created a memorial scholarship in support of STEM. She's received a number of professional awards, including but not limited to the Baltimore Sun's Top Leadership Award, Maryland's Most Influential People, and the Women in Technology Leadership Award. Welcome, Angie. And finally, but not last but not least, Major General Maria Barrett. Major General Barrett serves as the Commanding General of NETCOM. A Massachusetts native, she graduated from Tufts University and was commissioned into the Army through the ROTC program. She has served in many notable assignments, including but not limited to the Deputy Director of Current Operations J3, United States Cyber Command, Deputy Commanding General for the Joint Force Headquarters Cyber with United States Army Cyber Command, and Deputy Commander of Operations for the Cyber National Mission Force, U.S. Cybercom. Additionally, she is a veteran of Operations New Dawn and Enduring Freedom, and Operations Desert Shield and Desert Storm. She holds 2 master's degrees, numerous awards and commendations, and is married to Lieutenant Colonel retired Brian Barrett, a former Signal Corps officer. Welcome, General Barrett. I will now go into some questions and look forward to everyone's response. As stated earlier, please go ahead and type your questions in the chat if you have any. So the first question is in reference to the Chief of Staff of the Army's #1 priority. So those of you who have heard this, you know that General McConville has stated that his #1 priority is people. He stated that in order to meet the challenges of fighting near-peer adversaries such as China and Russia, the Army must not only modernize its equipment, but it also must adapt a new concept for the way it fights and put in place a 21st century talent management system. I'd like to now ask each panel member to please provide a brief summary of your organization's mission as it relates to cybersecurity, as well as discuss key challenges you face with your cyber workforce as it relates to talent management of your cyber professionals. Dr. Jackson, if we could go ahead and begin with you, that'd be great.
As Maryland's first historically Black university, Bowie State University empowers a diverse population of students to reach their potential by providing innovative academic programs and transformation experiences as they prepare for careers, lifelong learning, and civic responsibilities. Bowie State University supports Maryland's workforce and economy by engaging in strategic partnerships, research, public service to benefit our local, state, national, and global communities. Now, in the department in which I chair, which is the Department of Technology and Security, our mission is to be recognized as a leader among peer universities, colleges, and institutions nationwide, and as a premier partner in cybersecurity research and education, workforce development, technology innovation, and tech transition. The department serves as an innovation hub for multidisciplinary cybersecurity, research, education, outreach, and partnerships to help solve cybersecurity issues for today and tomorrow. Our biggest issue is there are not enough students who major in STEM. That's a national issue. And so that's our biggest issue.
Wow, that's really, really interesting. And I think we're going to probably hear a theme about that as we go forward. But thank you, Dr. Jackson. And Major General Barrett, if you could share your perspective, please.
Sure. So as the organization underneath Army Cyber that is responsible for running the Army's networks, and it's really actually a collection of people's networks. This is about 800,000 users, 1.1 million classified and unclassified endpoints, 14,000 software applications, 38 states, 20 countries, and about 288 post camps and stations. So it's a fairly big mission. There are 15,000 soldiers, civilians, and contractors who are making this run. And so cybersecurity, it's not just about delivering the service, it's also about delivering it securely. And so this is a component of what we do every single day. And so, we'd like to, I refer to the network and all the things that happen on the network. It's a living, breathing thing. And so every day, I think some of you may have even gotten the notice today that Apple is pushing a new update. And this is a daily occurrence for us that we have to be able to respond to, and we have to respond at a speed that is faster than our adversaries. And this is the approach that we take. It's the challenge that we have when we're talking about a workforce, again, distributed globally with this vast mission and things changing every day on the network. And then how do you now shape this workforce for what might be coming down the pipe in the future, whether we're talking about cloud, whether we're talking about developing our software in a more agile manner, whether we're talking about implementing a zero trust architecture, all of these things then have to be put on top of this layer of activity that we are already doing. And so that really is the workforce challenge that we face.
Well, thank you, General Barrett. Yeah, that's really interesting and amazing. Ms. Goodwine, would you please chat a little bit, tell us a little bit about your organization's mission as it relates to cybersecurity, and then key challenges that you're facing within your cyber workforce?
Absolutely. Thank you. Good afternoon. So for USDA, I'm proud to say that we're one of the organizations that touches everybody every day. If you're eating, USDA has provided a service to you. And so as a department within the federal government, the civilian side, we have more than 100,000 employees, 29 agencies and staff offices located at 4,500 different locations around the world. And what we provide, as you know, one, food security, food safety is one of our key pillars, but of course, supporting rural America. There are 60 million individuals that live, families that live, in rural America, but also the farmers, the ranchers, the producers, the foresters, the conservationists. All of those are recipients of the services that are provided by USDA. And so, from a cybersecurity perspective, my role as a CISO is to ensure that the services the agencies provide to their customers and constituents is done so securely. Either that's using the cloud, rather that's providing data through a big data platform, or rather that's using any of our customer relations platforms that we use. So in doing that, in providing that service, I think my biggest challenge is living in the DC area, the competition amongst agencies. We're all fighting for the same talent, So, and we all as a civilian agency have the same authorities, right? You can try to give someone an above minimum grade step when you hire them. And so trying to really create an organization where you really try to pull on the heartstrings of the workforce that care about the mission, that the people at USDA are here and they stay here because they're excited about the mission that we provide. So talent management is key and foundational to do the recruitment and the retention of the workforce that we have, so that we can outshine our competition, so to speak.
Mm. Very well, very, that resonates with a lot of organizations, and again, really fascinating. How about you, Ms. Leinart? Can you talk a little bit from an industry perspective?
Absolutely. It's kind of interesting to see how Intelligenesis' role has evolved over the past several years, with starting in cyber, just looking at your networks, looking at your systems, protecting data, and to where now we are actually developing the AI tools, building offensive and defensive techniques to support national security cyber operations worldwide. And my role in that evolution has been to stay informed, to conduct research into emerging technologies and the skills required to not only remain relevant, but to stay ahead of the technology curve and provide these training programs to my employees and customers to keep their skill sets technically strong and ever evolving. Since cybersecurity is such a broad field, as a small business, it's also important for us to carve out the areas that we wanted to specialize in, which for us has been in the artificial intelligence and mission operations. That's definitely our sweet spot. And it's because of our technical and mission expertise that we're ultimately becoming entrenched in more of the training side of cybersecurity, because we're becoming those subject matter experts and are then responsible to help take those technologies, that training, that expertise, and train the next generation of analysts and warfighters worldwide. So we have to really keep that in mind and make sure that we're continuously training our employees and making sure that they understand the technologies. They're developing the trade crafts. That has been by far one of our biggest issues, is not resting on our laurels, but looking at what else is out there and what are some new techniques and capabilities, just as General Barrett said, because we have to stay ahead of our enemy, right? We can't just sit around and wait for something to happen. We have to make sure that we're aware of what's going on. continue to be creative and identify new opportunities and new ways to get those training courses to inform our employees as well, to inform our customers that these are some of the trends and capabilities and technologies that we're seeing out there.
Okay, thank you. Fascinating. So we talked a little bit about some of the issues that you're facing, and some of you did go into how you're working on them and addressing them. Can you talk a little bit more about really how do we get ahead of these issues with the talent management as we look ahead now to even more emerging technologies coming out, like RPA and AI and ML? What else do you think, or what have you done to address some of those challenges that we can continue to set the stage for the future? General Barrett, if we can go ahead and chat get your perspective first, please.
Yeah. So the race for talent, in referencing the National Capital Region, I think it's very intense around the National Capital Region, but I also think that this is also an issue, across the United States. We are in a competition for talent with industry, as well as internal to the government and internal to even the Army itself. So we do have to come to some realization about what it is that people are going to be attracted to. And that mission piece is something that we want to highlight. I don't think there is one silver bullet for solving this issue. My predecessor put in a pretty aggressive intern program because he actually saw that by 2025, 44% of our workforce is going to be retirement eligible. So how do you start to deal with that issue? He also saw that we were losing talent in the recruitment process because the process took too long. And so we really attacked and drilled into how do we make this give that feedback back to candidates, about a hiring decision. But I think this was really only opening the door to the fact that we have to address this challenge of how we're going to, let's say our major initiatives are going to be, how do you operate in the cloud? How do you do DevSecOps? How do you do zero trust architecture? Those are, let's say for a hypothetical, this is going to be the three main areas. We have to quantify that. We now have to take a look at our recruitment and retention and training strategies for this. And so it's a more holistic across the life of, a person on your team. And if we answer just the front end of the hiring, we're going to miss the boat. And so so what we have inside Netcom is a talent management strategy that really has 4 pillars, the train, the acquire, the retain, and then actually how we employ the individuals. And so by attacking it across all 4 pillars and actually bringing in all of our outside organizations, so the buy-in occurs and they understand this process and what role they play, I think will really put us in a position to, deal with that issue at 2025 and put us in a better posture for dealing with the new technologies that we want to be employing.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Well, I can imagine in Sierra Vista, the competition also is much harder than it is in the DC area for talent as well. So that's interesting. Ms. Goodwine, how about you? You talked a little bit about grabbing onto the heartstrings and really making people passionate about the mission. Could you talk a little bit more? And is that really what you're finding is the way to success?
Absolutely. It's interesting. I have a military background, and I know that every time I went to a new base, the first question I always asked was, what's the mission essential functions and tasks of the base, so that I know what was going to be my role as a communicator on that base and how do I support the leadership. I used that same mentality when I went to USDA. I met with the continuity team and planning team and said, okay, what's our mission essential functions and tasks, and learned that food security, food safety, force fighting, those are important. And I started to really socialize that idea with my team. Is like, let's understand when we come to work, no, you don't just secure a network, you feed America. And so I started talking really in those broad terms to really trying to get people excited. But then beyond that, when it comes to the mission, then it becomes, okay, then how do I prepare them for this emerging technology? And everyone thinks it's a technology problem, but it's not. It's really, when I talk about cybersecurity and talent, it's not just numbers that I need. I need the right talent and I need the right skills for the technology that I'm creating. And so within USDA, and specifically in my organization, we've really embraced the NICE framework, the National Initiative for Cybersecurity Education, because within that framework, you have the specialty areas, you have the functions, but more importantly, you have 52 roles. And those roles are designed to outline from a cybersecurity program end to end the skills, the knowledge, the tasks you can expect to perform. So by assigning each one of my team members that role, I can then build that role. What training is needed? What certification is needed? How do I then build that individual? And what does it look like for, to use word again, talent management, progression per se. If the person's a GS9 and they want to be a GS11, how do we build in those type of progression opportunities through internships or through, cross training, to use an old military term, to, so that you know this job today, but you can learn this job tomorrow. And that's important. So, and then reskilling and then upskilling, because a lot of our talent, they have skills, Fortran skills, but I need them to understand some different cyber skills. And so, how do I upskill them, but still not lose that legacy knowledge that I need? But then, how do I reskill them? Because now I'm using RPA, as you mentioned. How do I teach them to now work with automation, and so that they can use it to their advantage and then use really their skills for the higher level work that it's designed for? And so within the department, we kind of use a holistic approach of, one, yes, the mission is important, love it, understand it, and we kind of pull on, their heartstrings there, but then also providing them with an opportunity. Here's where you are today, but here's where you can be tomorrow. Because if I lose an individual to another federal agency, that's still an investment that I've made that's still great, because the whole of government concept.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Oh, that's really interesting. I like too how, what your method is empowering the workforce too, but then also incentivizing them really to reskill and upskill. I like those terms. So how about you, Miss Leinart or Dr. Jackson? Do you have anything else to add on top of that from a industry perspective or academia?
Well, I can speak from the academic standpoint because I've heard everybody talked about their description of the talent. We produce the talent. So I just want to tell you that we think cybersecurity is everybody's business. So we created a course for everybody called Cybersecurity for All, so that people are not so afraid of it. When the word came out about in 2000 and what was it, 2012, 14, something like that, it seemed so big. And so what we realized is we just can't wait for the students to come and major in STEM. So we reached out across departments and we're growing a partnership with the Department of Criminal Justice. And they're going to come in. The Bowie is a designated center for Center of Academic Excellence in Cyber Defense by NSA and the Department of Homeland Security. We're bringing the 600 majors in to actually get a Center of Academic Excellence in Cyber Defense. So when you start talking about criminal justice and technology, you're actually talking about NCIS, which is what you see on TV. So we're also looking at sociology and psychology. And when you think about nursing, technology and cybersecurity is everybody's business. So that's what we're doing to try to improve the shortage of STEM. So we're working with the existing majors, letting them stay there, but then they take about 21 to 24 additional courses in technology to help build their speed and make them a little bit more marketable so that everybody can now look at it a little differently.
Wow, impressive. And Ms. Leinart, are you finding that is it challenging to find those skilled workers, or are you having to, invest a lot in them coming in, or what are you finding?
So this is definitely a topic that I could speak on for hours because I feel like there's so many facets to it. I mean, if you're starting in like the middle schools and the high schools, I mean, and even trying to get into elementary schools, we're trying to start that whole process as early as possible. I mean, it can't just be my organization; it definitely has to be a community approach. Speaking from just my organization, we do all kinds of different programs. We start early. We try to be creative. Um, for us, and what we've learned is a lot easier because we do a lot of national security work, right? So everything that we do touches a mission. So the mission is the most important to us. So if I can take somebody that understands that mission, I can teach you technical skills. And what we do is we have different career paths. We've invested in a lot of our own internal programs, and then we break them down to smaller pieces. So even when it comes to the AI, because we have so many of our experts that do the actual technical, the machine learning, the natural language, the processing, the neural networks, that development, but breaking it into pieces so that everybody can understand kind of different components on the data science, some of the big data pieces, the visualization, so that they can move away from being so reliant on the technology to do more on the problem solving, the critical thinking that we think is so important, and some of the things that are missed in a lot of the different curriculums that are out there right now. So I think one of the biggest things for industry is to really, it seems so basic and simple, but have that commitment to your employees. The best that I've seen is if you can develop those internal programs and train your own people to, like she was saying, to do the cross training, to do the upskilling, to take the generation that have all this knowledge and be able to build that throughout and have those programs in your organizations. We do a lot with apprenticeships for the state and Skill Bridge to be able to take the transitioning military and then to be able to give them kind of their next career. So, especially as a small business, we have to be very creative and very resourceful. But there are so many programs that are out there and available for industry as well as government agencies to be able to implement. But I think it's having that consistent kind of standard and being able to build and develop in that, and also making sure that is living and growing as technologies evolve and change. That it's not so strict that it doesn't take into account some of the DevOps and some of the zero trust architecture and some of the other capabilities and technologies that are coming into play.
Yeah, interesting. And you also, that kind of ties in too with that supportive atmosphere that you talk about, in your bio that you want to have for all your employees as well. So giving them those tools and opportunities to be able to grow. Well, if we could turn the focus to you ladies a little bit. I know each of you are really humble people, but cybersecurity, that field itself, according to a lot of younger girls and women that I've talked to and have heard from, have stated that, they didn't think that career field was very exciting, or that it allowed for a lot of progression. And so I think it'd be really intriguing for the audience to hear a nugget or two, or just, for you to explain how you made it to where you are in your careers, and, any pitfalls you faced along the way, and, how you overcame those, and then just what you've realized in your career fields with regards to cybersecurity itself. So if you could go ahead and start, Ms. Goodwine, I think that would be really intriguing for the audience to hear.
Okay. Well, first, I tell those that I mentor when I talk to a group of women is don't focus on the fact that you're a woman. Let's just, okay, when I looked in the mirror this morning, I knew I was a woman. Surprise, right? When I walk in the room, I want people to recognize that I'm there because I belong, and I'm there because I've done the work to get there, right? I've taken the training, I've invested in myself. So I don't want us to focus on that, not minimizing and recognizing that we look around the room in the industry. That's obvious, but let's not focus on it. And so what I've learned, two things. One is to invest in myself, and two, that I am deliberate with my career. I'm dual persona. I've been in the military. I served active duty, now in the reserves for 38 years. And so I've had really the pleasure of having some good mentorship, right, that helped me to be deliberate about my career. So when I started my civilian career, I said one day I'd like to be an executive. And I created a matrix, a simple, no kidding, Excel spreadsheet. Down the left side, I had all the capabilities. I wanted to be a CIO and not a CISO, but I ended up in cyber. But I put down the left side all the competencies to be a CIO. And across the top, I put, all of the jobs that I've had, and I put an intersection, I put a X where I've had positions where I had gained those competencies. And I've used that spreadsheet to where I am today. Every time I took a job, I looked at that spreadsheet to determine, am I taking this job because it's given me a new skill, or is it going to update a skill I already have? So that's one. I was very deliberate about my career, and I cannot minimize the mentorship. I've had all sorts of mentors that helped me along the way. The other thing was investing in myself. When I wanted to get my cybersecurity certification, I spent the money for it. And I didn't mind. Now today, my maintenance fees are paid for me, but I didn't mind saying, "Hey, I want to be, a PMP, because project management." I paid for that training, so I'm not afraid to buy a book to increase my knowledge. When something comes out, zero trust, I don't mind paying to go to a webinar or something. And so I don't rely just on my organization to provide me that training, because we all know, sitting on this panel, oftentimes when budget gets cut, what gets cut first? Training. So again, as I say, to be in cybersecurity, don't be afraid, be deliberate about your career. For one, know what you want to do and know where you're going, and seek out individuals that have achieved that and really hold on to their coattails, because there's others paving the way for us. And then number two, don't be afraid to invest in yourself, because the return on investment will be tremendous.
Oh, that's excellent advice, and I think especially being very deliberate and planning that out instead of just going along the path there that's given to you sometimes. How about you, General Barrett?
So I think there are some things that obviously resonate with me as well. First is I might have been hyper focused as a second lieutenant coming into the Army that I was a woman. But I think that after about 6 months on the job as a platoon leader, I figured out pretty shortly that nobody cared. They only cared how I performed and how I took care of my soldiers. And so after that, the next 30 some odd years is a blur. There are occasions where, especially in a senior leader role, where I'm asked this very question, and I've actually had to kind of step back and think about it, because I've spent a large part of my career not thinking about it, and really kind of focusing on that performance piece. I think the other thing that I tell leaders at all ranks is never underestimate the impact that you can make on a person's decision about whether or not they enjoy this mission or not, and they're vested in it and they've got a passion for it. That first line leader, for me, it was my first battalion commander, and the way that he led really was, and he continued to mentor me along the way. That would be a pivotal thing for me, and so I pass that on for all leaders, men and women alike. And then the other thing that I would say is be prepared for the opportunities. Young people have a tendency to have a roadmap already stretched out, exactly when things are going to happen. And I think there's goodness in that, and having goals and a passion. But I think you also want to be prepared for the opportunities that might arise. If you think, for example, 5 years ago, when I was making the transition from being a colonel to a general officer, and I was not going to any of the traditional, IT Signal Corps officer jobs. I was going up to this thing called the Cyber National Mission Force to work for this person called Major General Nakasone, who I did not know. And that all worked out. So be prepared to take the opportunities that are coming your way and make the most of them, because they are absolutely, the Army has got, that's my whole career, is just opportunities. You want to go work for the White House Communications Agency? Sure. You want to go work up at Fort Meade with Cyber Command? Sure. And so you have to be ready and embrace those chances when they come.
Very, very, very insightful, and also not afraid to take advantage of those opportunities, right? Dr. Jackson, could you talk a little bit about how you made it to where you're at, and then just any advice you'd have for others?
Yeah, I love the opportunities and the mentors. That's really key. I wanted you to know I started out as a programmer, and Ms. Goodwine, I was a Fortran programmer and an assembly language programmer, so I am a hidden figure. And as you know, there weren't many of us, and I was good at it. And then I was given scholarships for all my degrees and everything else. And then I thought, well, I'm the only female. I'm the only African American here out of 300 and 400. And that's okay. I thought that's okay. I didn't know that the way I was treated was not the way I should have been treated. I did not know that until recently. I thought everybody went through that. And later in the department, I was awarded, well, the university was awarded a $25 million grant for 5 years from the Department of Energy with a consortium of 12 other historically Black schools with the focus of cybersecurity because of that late Aurora project that went through. That changed my research into data science, cybersecurity, Internet of Things, and cloud computing. The grant itself allowed for curriculum changes, undergraduate research, outreach. We touched over 5,000 middle and high school students during that time with cybersecurity. And when I talk about that, I'm talking about some of the summer programs we had that were for minority girls that were middle school and high school. We called it Code Red. We had programs for boys. We covered whole high schools with information of what is cybersecurity because just to, like I said, cybersecurity is for everyone and to help people understand it's not that unattainable. And publications and presentations. And I would have to say my biggest support group, the mentorship and the opportunities, because I was pushed along the way because I like to talk. So I was pushed along the way on a lot of things. And as the general said, I actually just took the opportunities and took advantage of what was in place. And then I had to say, this is it. I'm not going any further. This is tough enough. After raising 5 children and a husband and dealing with all the students, it just gets to be a little much after a while. But I'm glad to have been on this journey for close to 40 years to understand what is cybersecurity and how it works. And anybody can do it. The girls don't realize you don't have to look like a boy in order to play in the same field that they do. And I think it's okay to be a female and actually work and know something. I think it's wonderful. So that's what I would have to say if I was to give any advice.
Well, thank you. Very, very insightful, and very interesting to hear you. I know the audience is just impressed by all your experiences so far that they've heard about. And so, Ms. Leinart, if we could finish this question with you again, just tell us how you got to where you're at, and then any thoughts you have about the career itself that you could share with others.
I think for my career progression, it was okay to not be satisfied, to want more. So I didn't have the college opportunity. I worked at a gas station, and then I just realized one day, I want more than this. I got to figure this out. So I went into the military, and all I knew was I just wanted to get out and do something different. And they said, hey, you should be a linguist. And I'm from Kentucky. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I had no idea what a linguist was. All I knew is they said I could go to California, and I was like, let's do it. So, challenged myself. We started with like 15 women in our group of, I think there were like 50 or 60 of us in the beginning. After 63 weeks, I was the only female left, and I graduated, and there were only like 20 some of us that actually graduated from that program. And I was shocked. And then from there, transitioning out of the military, I decided that since I was able to complete my degrees, I wanted to do something else. But because it was pre 9/11 at that time, nobody wanted an Arabic linguist. So then I had to reinvent myself. And so then I thought, well, I'm seeing people get out that are being receptionists. Well, I could have probably been a receptionist a long time ago, but I worked really hard to get where I was at the time. And that wasn't good enough for me. So I wanted more. So then I said, okay, well, I went to job fairs. I found out they were hiring HTML, web developers. Okay, it's another language on that. So learned HTML, JavaScript, started developing websites, then was able to get a job, but still wasn't satisfied. Also realized I know enough about technology to be a really big nerd and accept that and love it, but not enough to be really good at it. But what I am good at is translating requirements and knowing when somebody's trying to BS me when it comes to technology. So I said, I should probably go into software development management type of thing, be a software manager. And that's what I did. And as I continued through that progression, every step of the way, I wanted more. I didn't like the way the customer was treated. I didn't like the mission wasn't important. I didn't like that you forgot how to take care of your employees. So each one of those steps kind of led me to the position that I am in today. And it's really just not being satisfied and realizing that that's okay. I can say that I want more, but I have to realize that if I want more, I'm going to have to put the time in, put the energy in, and do the work to get there. But as long as I believe in myself and realize that the world, it is my oyster and it's my opportunity. Doesn't matter where you came from. It just matters if you're going to just work really hard and you have kind of, for me, I had everybody's best interest in mind too, and wanted to take care of people and the mission and employees. So it just all kind of came together. So that's a lot of the things that when I go and do different speaking engagements is that I want to remind people that, just like it's been said here, I may not look like everybody around the room, and you don't look like everybody around the room, and that's okay. You just have to believe in yourself, and you have to be willing to work for it. And you're going to have all kinds of setbacks along the way, and days are going to really suck. But you just take that day, you see what you can learn from it. Get up the next day, dust yourself off, and let's go. Don't lose track. Don't get off your path. Just keep going. Just persist.
Oh, no, that's excellent. You make me want to get out and go for a 2-mile run. Got me excited. So Dr. Jackson, I have a question that's just really geared towards you and the academia. And that is, considering the times that we're in right now and the vulnerabilities that exist, what do you feel the educational system's role should be for children in elementary and high schools to best prepare them for the field of cybersecurity and STEM?
Well, I think we should not be afraid to put the computer in front of the children. I have a 5-year-old granddaughter that can work that computer better than I can. And we need to go ahead and offer these programming, STEM-based, and computing courses. We need to just do it. And we need to start it in kindergarten. And we need to move it up, move it forward when we get to middle school. So that when we're at middle school, the students are programming. And they're starting to look at maybe engineering, which is Project Lead the Way. There are several things in place now. They have this new course called COSE Principles, which actually maps to the College Board. There's an exam that goes with that. It introduces a plethora of computing concepts, apps, big data, programming, internet, networking for the students to see if that's something they're really used to. I made a prediction back in, I said, by the time we're in 2025, that's a nice year, everybody will know how to program because of LinkedIn, Facebook, everybody. And then don't even talk about the shows on TV. Cable is going away as it is. You've got this little stick the kids have, you plug it in the computer, you can see anything you want to. So we're going to have to get uncomfortable. And the things with the schools is the teachers may not feel comfortable, because the children do know how to manipulate that technology. I know when we were walking through the malls, you would see kids in the strollers with those iPads. They're already doing that. And I just think that you need to take the math, which brings the critical thinking and the problem solving. You're going to have to take that. And the science, which brings innovation and experimentation. Those things together. And your kids ask, why am I taking calculus? Nobody really uses calculus. Who does a derivative and an integral? But it makes you think. It's something more to math than this addition, subtraction, and multiplication. That's what it is. It puts you outside of that. So I think if the schools were to invest more in those things early, I think that would start to drive the love of STEM forward and everything else to bring the cybersecurity at the forefront so that everybody on this call can have a workforce.
Yeah. And, in a way, COVID's helped with that, at least in the area we're in, because now, all the children with their virtual learning, they're home with their laptops, they're learning. I mean, my daughter's, talking to me about cybersecurity already at 8 years old, with my younger daughter. So good point. And so we probably have time for one last question. And I want to talk a little bit about some of the current cybersecurity programs that are in place, and the fact that, there's a lot of technologies we've talked about a little bit that address that cybersecurity. But what gaps do you currently see where you feel technology could play a role to help you and your organizations minimize those security risks and have that stronger workforce? So, do you think things like RPA, artificial intelligence, and machine learning have a role with that? And Ms. Goodwine, if we could start with you, that'd be great.
Yeah, thank you for that question. I want to build on what you just said, Dr. Jackson. Yes, we do need to start building this workforce at an earlier age. But I would say to the audience who have a career and are thinking about making the transition into cybersecurity. First, I like when they added the A to STEM, because adding the arts really brings that out of the box thinking and that problem solving that we need, because in order to be successful in cybersecurity, we need to be innovative and we need to think like the actor or the adversary. And then also think, and I'm going to say this because this is a women's event, is that there are a lot of inherent skills that we have that our male counterparts don't. Right? The ability to build and maintain relationships. I mean, how many of you, your friends are really because they're your friends and they just happen to have a husband, right? So now your husband have instant friends. The ability, critical thinking, multitasking, problem solving. That's what we do. And those are the skills that are needed in cybersecurity. The technical, I could teach you because I could put you in a class and you have the capacity to learn. I could teach you technical. It's those soft skills I need to make sure that I hone in on in order to be successful in cybersecurity. So yes, technology does help. RPA, yes, because as much as I can automate, I can use my talent, my limited workforce to do higher level work. Absolutely.
Thank you. And how about you, General Barrett? What's your perspective on some of the current gaps in technology, and if some of those things that we talked about could help?
Yeah, so actually, I wasn't going to take it down the technology road either, because I think you can go to any website, any blog, and find out what we're talking about. Where I'm going to take this is the data science piece. And so if you're really going to go down the ML and AI road, and start really operating at speed against the adversary, then you have to have this capability. And I've seen a lot of people move things into the cloud and then kind of go back and go, yeah, that wasn't really what we meant to do after they get the bill. And so we do have to be very thoughtful about our data. And so, again, we built a data science directorate here, and the director was keen to pull my ear and go, hey, when are we going to get around to having actually a chief data officer and somebody who is going to help us think about managing the data? We can manipulate it all day long, but really we don't have anybody thinking about the contracts where we have as a service, who owns that data, can we have access to the data still? So I think this is actually a competency that organizations who want to go to cloud, who want to leverage it for AI and ML, really, if you do not have a team thinking about your data, you're not going to go there fast.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Very good point. And I think we're going to close then, Ms. Leinart, with your perspective on that. So you could, again, just talk a little bit about what you feel or how technology could help with some of the gaps that you're seeing today with cybersecurity, and where you think we need to go there.
So, and I just echo what the other women on the panel have said. I think that technology definitely plays a role, but you also, it's so important to understand what your technology is doing. One, understand what your requirements are, what you're trying to accomplish, and then being able to deploy the appropriate technology. Because sometimes people just throw something out there and say, okay, I have the software or hardware I need, I'm secure. No. You need to actually understand what it is that you're trying to accomplish, and then be able to use these as tools, not as the only solution. You have to understand what's happening with your data. What are you trying to protect? Who needs to be able to access it? Who is accessing it? What's going on? I mean, there's so many different aspects of it. I mean, we use on our networks, there's all kinds of software that we use, but then we still build our own AI capabilities into it so that we can determine other patterns or other things that are going on, because of course we're a big target, right? Even though we're a small company, because of who our customers are, they want to take advantage of, maybe small companies don't know what they're doing in cybersecurity, so somebody can gain access to our network, they can then gain access to our supply chain, et cetera, and so on. So I really think that's the most important thing, is to understand what those requirements are, understand what you're trying to accomplish, and then make sure that you are going back and monitoring that you're getting the results that you're expecting.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, wonderful. Well, I guess we do have just a few minutes left here, but General Barrett, you talked a little bit about the data. Can you share your thoughts on data governance? And, from your perspective, do we have the right strategies in place right now to help you, at least within your organization?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really the data governance piece is why my data scientists were coming to me and saying, hey, you really do need to commit to a data manager. I know that this is part of the Army's data strategy as well, to do this at that top level for warfighting systems, business systems, and then the enterprise systems that we have. And so, I also realize that I've got to take a look at it just internal to my own organization. Who, it already mentioned, who has access to the data, what are the authoritative data sources? Because, when you're looking at actually some of the use cases and identifying where your cybersecurity threats are and responding to them very quickly, having this really honed and being able to manipulate it does require somebody full time on it. So I just think it's something that, do we have it right? I'm not going to say we have it wrong, but this is a maturing area for us. In that if you are, again, on this path of introducing and leveraging AI and ML, and you think that this is where you want to go, and you haven't even begun to think about the data, that's the first place that I would start, is that data governance and management, and the people and processes inside your organization to think about it. I will tell you that looking at using data to solve some of our problems was not an immediate. I think they knew, they've read enough to know that this is the thing that we should be doing, but actually adopting it. And now I think, if I tried to disband my data science division, I think I would have a mutiny on my hands. I'm joking, but now see the value of that group to their mission, and so now we just kind of have to help them out a little bit more.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, Dr. Jackson, within academia, are you, seeing the similar things, or is, data governance something that you're focusing on as well?
Yes, we created a data science and a database administration track in our program. So we realized that we're not analysts, but we're into trends. This is one of my favorite examples. Mrs. Fields and her cookies, she's dropping cookies every night and she's throwing cookies away. So she just had people put tick marks down to say who was coming, what was the weather, blah, blah, blah. So she would drop cookies as needed according to the specifications of that day. So even in our own department, everything is data driven. So not only do the students learn the trends and the data science and the tools, they also can build a back end server in Oracle for the database administration within that track. So yeah, when we were actually building our cybersecurity program, we put data science right up there at the front, because we noticed in Amazon, when you ordered Amazon, it told you what you already ordered, what other people like. That's data. That's data. So yeah.
Oh, well, ladies, thank you. We are at the top of the hour. I could keep going for another hour or 2 hours or so, but just want to thank you all again for your amazing insights and for your time today. So if we could go ahead, and I'll turn it back over to Afsia.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. That was remarkable. I loved hearing all the comments and the insights, and thank you very much to all of our panelists and to you as our moderator, Colonel Pearson. We certainly appreciate all that you guys had to share with us today. So thank you for organizing the panel, and thank you to our moderator and panelists. And in your name, Women in AFCEA has made a donation to Final Salute, which is an organization whose mission is to provide homeless women veterans with safe and suitable housing, and works with them to establish their plans towards independence. So thank you again to Sienna Corporation and Walker and Associates for sponsoring today's session and making it possible for Women in AFCEA to bring this to you today. I hope you enjoy the rest of TechNet Augusta events, and we hope to see you in person at TechNet Augusta 2021, which will be held 16 to 19 August in Augusta, Georgia. Thank you again to everyone for joining us today, and take care.